Hello and welcome to Grammar Lesson 1. Today we're going to learn about sentences, specifically what is a sentence. Now, I can hear you all the way through the computer asking yourself, why? Why do I have to do this? I do not enjoy grammar. I totally understand. So let's talk about that. Maybe if you know more about what grammar is, you can make a more informed decision about whether or not you want to learn more about it. So what is grammar? Grammar is the study of the way sentences are used to construct language. That's kind of a crazy sentence, but here's what it means. If you want to use language well when speaking to other people, then maybe it would benefit you to learn how to use sentences in a way that helps you to speak more clearly and get things done. Okay, well, maybe you're not convinced, but why, you might be asking yourself? Why do I have to do this? I'm not going to be in high school for the rest of my life, and in school is the only place where I do grammar. Well, that's not true, actually, but I can understand how you might be feeling that way. What does this have to do with me, right? Okay, let's talk about some reasons why you might want to improve your language skills. What you're really asking yourself is, what does this have to do with me? Right. Let's talk about some reasons why you might want to improve your language skills. Do you think you might ever want to apply for a job someday? If you do, there may be some writing involved with that. There may be a face-to-face interview involved with that. Once you get the job, what if you want to ask for a raise or a promotion? You're going to want to sound like you're intelligent and able to carry out whatever responsibilities that are going to be required of you in this higher paying position. What if you're at work and you want to propose a new project to the rest of the staff? It's an idea that you're really excited about. You want to do this thing, and maybe you want to take the lead on getting it done. You're going to have to be able to communicate clearly if you want to get someone else to be as excited about your idea as you are. What if someday you're going to have to ask the government for some funding? Maybe for a college loan, or maybe funding your charity organization. What if you want to apply to college or to grad school? I guarantee there's a lot of writing involved in that, and definitely some face-to-face interviews, and you want to make a good impression when you do it. What if you don't want to go to college? That's fine. There are plenty of things you can do if you choose not to go to college. Maybe you'll join your family business, something that's already established, and you think, I'm not going to need to learn any language skills. But that's not necessarily true. Times change, and things change, and technology changes, and you might need to write a business plan for your family business. You might need to go into the bank and try to borrow some money to expand your business. You're going to have to inspire someone to want to invest in you. Basically, if you want to become any kind of leader in your life, in your home, at work, in your church maybe, in any public organization, whatever you're thinking, it's going to benefit you to be able to speak clearly, to write clearly, and to communicate more effectively. And finally, what if you just want to write better captions in your social media accounts so that you can get more followers? All right, that might sound a little silly, but it's not. There are people out there making a ton of money as social media influencers. I think you know this. Social media accounts are all about writing and speaking, and dancing, I guess, but there's speaking and writing involved in every single post. And the better you are at it, the more engaging your posts will become. Maybe you're still not convinced. What does grammar have to do with me right now, though? Well, do you want to get better grades in all of your high school classes? Do you want to make all of your high school assignments a little easier on yourself? The better you are at writing and reading and speaking, the easier everything else in your life becomes. If writing could become easier for you, less stressful, if you could become more confident and less nervous about speaking up in class to ask questions, I promise you that your entire school experience will become easier to handle. If you gain grammar skills, a mastery over the language that you use every day, then you are going to gain confidence in yourself. You are going to speak more clearly. You're going to write more effectively. In short, you are going to be able to communicate in a way that helps you get what you want. And honestly, that's why we learn grammar, so that we can communicate in a way that gets us what we want. All right, I hope I've convinced you even a little bit. So here we go into a whole grammar curriculum, and I'm going to help you through it the whole way. Some of the days that we work on grammar, it's going to look really, really confusing. It's going to seem like it's not making any sense, but that's okay. I'll help you to make sense of it. Some of the days, maybe like today, it's going to look really simple, and that's good too. That's a great boost to your confidence level, which is always a good thing. Then, one of these days soon, it's going to click with you, and you are going to be able to use grammar to make something wonderful with your language skills. So that's the hope. Let's get going. Here we are with Grammar Lesson 1. The first thing we're going to do is talk about what is a sentence. What is a sentence? Well, it sounds like a silly question, but you'd be surprised by how many people don't actually know. Here it is. A sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It's not just any group of words. It has to be a group of words that expresses a complete thought. There are a few kinds of sentences, though that's not as important as knowing that a sentence, if it's going to be called a sentence, must express a complete thought. For example, Bob wants to go to sleep. What's happening here? Someone wants something. Who wants it? Bob. That's a complete thought. Bob wants to go to sleep. This is called a declarative sentence. It's declaring that Bob wants to go to sleep. Is Bob sleeping? This is an interrogative sentence because it's asking a question, like a suspect gets interrogated at the police station. What's happening here? Someone is sleeping. Who's sleeping? Bob. Yep, that's a complete thought. Here's an example of an imperative sentence. Go to sleep, Bob. Someone is still sleeping and it's still Bob, so this is a complete thought. It's called an imperative sentence or a command because it's telling Bob what he must do. And finally, this is an exclamatory sentence. So, number 1, a complete sentence must have two things. I love Bob. Aw, that's nice. An exclamatory sentence expresses strong emotion. In this case, there's some love happening. And who's doing the loving? I. Yep, this is a complete sentence. So, number 1, a complete sentence must have two things in order to be considered a complete sentence. A subject and a verb. Now, a lot of people get confused by this because they think that a sentence has to have a noun and a verb. They think that nouns are the same as subjects. They might have explained that to you that way in elementary school, but you're in the big school now, and you're ready for some truths. The truth is, this is not always the case. A noun is not always the subject of a sentence, so we're going to be learning what a subject is. Take a look at the sentence right here. Bob bought a silver Mustang with a sunroof. Now, if I'm thinking that a noun is the subject of the sentence, well, here are two nouns, Mustang and sunroof. Some people might think that Mustang is the subject of this sentence just because it has a great big capital letter M on the front of it. It must be an important word, right? But it's not the subject of this sentence, and neither is sunroof. Let's put a pin in that for now. We'll come back to it later. Number 2, a complete sentence must be able to stand on its own and make sense without any further explanation. For example, because he was the best player. Now, if someone stuck their head in the door and said, because he's the best player, and then walked away with no further explanation, it wouldn't make any sense. So this is not a complete sentence. This is what we call a sentence fragment. It's a fragment, a piece of a sentence, but not a complete sentence. And that's not good. Sentence fragments are okay in texts when you're speaking very informally to friends and family who are reading your sentence fragments in the context of a running thread of other poorly written sentences. But sentence fragments are not okay in emails or schoolwork or letters to customers or clients or to your boss at work. On the other hand, if someone walked in the room and said, Bob won the tennis MVP award because he was the best player, and then walked away, now it makes sense. You might have some follow-up questions like what was the award or even who is Bob. But the sentence has a subject and a verb and is a complete thought that makes sense. Number 3, a complete sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with end punctuation. For example, I think anything is possible if you try. Never mind the fact that the pronoun I should be capitalized all the time, no matter where it is in the sentence, but here it is, the very first word of the sentence too, so we most definitely need to capitalize it. You can go a few ways with end punctuation here. This could be a declarative sentence with a period at the end. I think anything is possible if you try. Or it could be an interrogatory sentence with a question mark at the end. I think anything is possible if you try. Or it could be an exclamatory sentence with an exclamation point. I think anything is possible if you try. Punctuation at the end of a sentence makes a difference. Okay, let's review. A sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. A complete sentence will always, always, always have a subject and a verb. A complete sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with end punctuation. The snow fell all day. Here's a capital letter. Here's some end punctuation. Snow is the subject of this sentence and fell is the verb. This is a complete sentence. And that's it. Well done.